What does an archaeologist not do? What does an archaeologist not do? An archaeologist, first and foremost, number one on the list, does not loot. Looting is the stealing of artifacts from an archaeological site, right? If you steal the artifacts, if you take them, and the idea is ultimately for collection or for sale or something like this, right? If you loot, you are destroying the past. You really are. It feels like it's not that bad, or, you know, that time that grandpa dug up that site. Well, it wasn't too bad. Yes, it was. Okay? You can go to jail for that. As you should. Don't be stealing stuff. So it's not just that the object is taken away. It's that when it's initially dug up, it loses a lot of its data, a lot of its information. Now, a funny moment is, I've experienced this before, where looted artifacts will come back to the archaeologist, or they'll come back to the museum or something like this. And like the media will be there, and you film the archaeologist, watch the archaeologist when the new artifacts come in, or these looted artifacts that have since been found. The archaeologist isn't like, yeah, look at that, it's found! Nope. The archaeologist is like, and the reason that we're kind of depressed is, yes, the artifacts come back, but they've lost like 80% of their data because we don't know now where exactly they're from and what they were with and what they relate to, and that's most of the story. That's what you use to reconstruct the past. So it's nicer to have them back than to not, but looting's awful. It's just really a drag. A couple things I forgot. So, I was talking about do not loot. And that is the number one thing that an archaeologist does not do. But there's one or two other things. The next little bit is antiquities. You hear that word, antiquities, right? What an antiquity is it's an artifact. It's a piece of the past, right? A silver coin is an artifact, but sometimes you call it an antiquity, right? What's the difference there? Artifact, antiquity. What do you think? I know. There's a monetary value to an antiquity. You buy and sell an antiquity. An artifact's just like this thing you found, right? An antiquity. Be very wary when you hear the word antiquity, because there's a value there, right? So as an archaeologist, you obviously don't want to buy or sell antiquities. And if somebody's asking about an antiquity, just turn your spidey sense on, you know what I mean? Case in point, over the years, I've had to be very wary about this kind of stuff because me, as an archaeologist, I can make it so certain things that people have bought on the black market, I can sort of okay them. I can add value to them accidentally. I've had this happen to me, where people come up to me, and usually my spidey sense is pretty good, where I can kind of tell that they're trying to get me to do something I don't want to do. And what that is they will show, like let's say they have some arrowheads or something, and they're like, hey, I'm just curious if you know what these are. I'm just curious, so how old do you think these are? And I have to be very careful, because without knowing it, and especially if I want to look and show how smart I am, you know, if I go, oh, that's a Folsom point from about 7500 BC, you know, I can all of a sudden give it real value. So usually what I do is I just talk around it. I go, well, yeah, those are some nice arrowheads. Very sharp. Yes, made out of stone. You know, and just sort of say truisms without valuating these things, because they can use that later to be like, oh, this has been valued at this price. This has been shown to be real. You know, I can authenticate something. And as an archaeologist, I don't want to do that. So in archaeology, again, we don't want to traverse this money realm, this buying and selling of artifacts. So many of you I know think that archaeology is about this, about that, like, if I find something, I keep it and sell it, and that's how I make money, by finding and keeping and selling stuff. No way. You know how I make money? Do you have a guess? Is it by selling looted artifacts? No! College professor, yo. They give me a check at the end of the month. Right? That's how archaeologists makes money. They work for firms, which I'll talk about later, or they work in the academic world. So I do not make money on the artifacts that I find. Those, who owns those? Do I own those? I found them. I should own them, right? No. The country where they're from, they own those. So if I'm working in Belize, the Belizean government owns those artifacts. If I'm working in the United States, the U.S. government owns those artifacts. If I'm working on Native American land, the Native Americans own those artifacts, and so on and so forth, right? So there's no finders keepers. One of the worst ideas that humanity ever came up with. Finders keepers, right? If I find something, it's mine. Is it? If you walk out of the classroom and leave your cell phone, and then I find it there, is it now mine? Finders keepers. I got a new cell phone. No, it's yours. I've stolen it from you. Finders keepers is an awful idea that honestly we have held on to for way too long in America. There's a little bit of finders keepers in the fiber of America. And it's not a good thing. It's a bit of a cancer. Don't believe me? Think about how Native American communities feel about finders keepers. And you know what I'm talking about. More later.